Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining me tonight. I appreciate you all being here. And Steve over at Steve's Woodworking, first to be here. Be here or be square, he says. I agree so much. Thank you for being here tonight, Steve. And same to you, Ashley. So glad you're here, says Ashley, says looking forward to it. And JR is here to moderate. Thank you, JR, for helping to moderate tonight. JR says hello, party people. And we cannot forget Linda. Linda says, hi, terrible thunderstorm and lightning here in Colorado. Wi-Fi is on and off. Just got back from Gillette, Wyoming. Had a great weekend. And now this mess. Oops, I'm sorry that comment didn't show. Yep, typical afternoon in the late spring, early summer of Colorado. About 3 o'clock, those thunderstorms begin to roll in. I hope you're staying safe, though, Linda. And I'm glad you had a good time in Gillette. JR says, again, typical late Colorado afternoon. And hello, Ira. Ira says, hello, alone. Monday nights are our favorite as my mom and I get to visit with you and all of our friends out here. Hope you're all doing great. I'm doing great, and I hope everyone else is too. Ashley is saying hello to JR and Ira. And hello, Original Six. How are you doing tonight? Original Six says hello, everyone. And JR is saying that he missed Ashley on the live stream that Rob over at Curmudgeon Inn had on Friday night. And hello, Randy. Thank you for joining us tonight. Randy Barbeck says hello or hi alone. Hope to stay on a bit, getting ready for my move to Wasilla as we speak. Hope all is well. Leaving in a week. Very cool. I'm not sure where you're coming from, Randy, but I hope you have a safe move nonetheless and that you get established right away. So happy for you. Ashley says that she believes she was on Rob's live. He discussed the nibbler for cutting the barrels to make the roofing for the chicken coop that he's building over there at the Curmudgeon Inn. And Ashley saying congratulations to Randy and Heidi. Hello, how are you doing tonight? Heidi says hello from South Bend, Indiana. So glad you could be here with us tonight. And Big T over at Rustic Log Cabin Life says, good evening, Miss Alone. It's 73 today. Woo! That is pretty warm. It didn't get quite that warm in my neck of the woods today. I think we were about 69 degrees, but it is rather hot outside nonetheless. Things are warming up this week. It's supposed to be in the 70s, I think, for a good portion of the week. And the fire danger is back to very high at this moment over here on this side of the state. There's fire bans in place. And in order to do any burning of any amount, you'll need a burn permit over on this side. And Ashley says, don't forget to give a thumbs up. Thank you, Ashley. I appreciate that very much. And Heidi has a question regarding my last video. It says, can anyone in Alaska clarify Thursday's video? As I understood it, Alone drove 3 hours to Anchorage and 3 hours back using possibly 2 tanks of gas to save $70 on studs. Did I miss something? Well, there's a couple of ways to look at this. One, I only used a single tank of gas, and while the gas did cost me $100, which therefore wiped out the savings on the 2x4s, I did have other errands to run in town as well. I did pick up a few more groceries in Costco, which saved me some money there, helped me to get some fresh produce into the cabin. And then also, I had other things that I picked up at Home Depot, which I didn't show. I picked up some totes so I could organize the things in the cellar and some other items as well. And so when you combine all those things, it was basically a wash. But nonetheless, I got a nice scenic drive out of it and got Kenai out of the house for a little bit, which I'm sure he greatly appreciated. So good question. But yes, it did basically wipe out any savings I would have gotten at Glen Allen. Had I picked up the 2x4s at Glen Allen and those totes and anything else that I needed to pick up, and if I bought fresh produce at the IGA, I would have actually lost money in the deal. So overall, I think it was worth it. And Chris Watson, thank you for being here tonight. Chris says, hola, y'all going to try to drive, pack, and listen. Hope the pack of aloners is doing the goodest tonight. Well, thank you, Chris. I appreciate it. And we hope that you have a safe drive and your packing goes well. And let's see here. We have Clint from East Texas. How are you doing tonight, Clint? Clint says, good evening. And going down the list of hellos to everybody here on the list. And we have Mrs. Smith with us tonight. Thank you for being here, Mrs. Smith. She says hello to Alone and everyone. Thank you so much. And JR says, no, she also did a bit of grocery shopping also. So, yep, the grocery shopping helped to provide some savings. And Big T is saying, Heidi, nope, you didn't miss anything. Yep, sometimes it's worth it just for the scenic view, if nothing else, even if I didn't save something. And Heidi says, so glad Alone picked up a Costco membership. Those Costco prices looked to be the same here in Indiana. Should save her some money. Yes, it does save a lot of money. As I mentioned in the video, the items that I picked up at Costco are some of the same items that I could pick up at the IGA in Glen Allen. And it appears that they're charging about double, if sometimes not a little bit more, for this exact same items. So it's well worth it when I'm in town to go to Costco, even if it does mean I have to deal with crowds. The crowds that I showed in that last video were taken the day after Memorial Day. And so the crowds were a little bit less than they typically are. I've been in there on a Saturday and it was absolutely packed. You were waiting in line for quite some time and fighting crowds just to get to anything on the shelves. So going on a day after a holiday appears to be a good thing. Hello, Rob. How are you doing tonight? Rob from Curmudgeon Inn is here tonight. Thank you, Rob. I know you had some business to tend to today, so I appreciate you being here. Rob says, I won't be on for the full show. We are heading to town tonight as we have friends up from Florida. Well, I hope you have fun tonight, and I thank you for being here while you can. I greatly appreciate it. Mrs. Smith is saying hi to Clint. And hello, Patty Roberts. How are you doing tonight? Patty says, good evening, Alone and everyone. I hope everything is going well for you and Kenai. Yes, we are doing quite well, and we appreciate that and hope that you are too. And Ashley is saying hello to Patty and Mrs. Smith. Hello, Southern Roots and Alaskan Branches. Josh in the house here for that channel. And Josh says, hey, Miss Alone and everyone, hope y'all are doing well. I'm in the garden listening in. Well, thank you, Josh, for being here, and good luck on your gardening. I appreciate you joining us tonight. And Rob is saying hello to everyone, and so is Patty. Let's see here, getting through some of the hellos we got going on. And we got Matt AK saying, hey, howdy fam. Howdy, Matt, to you. Thank you for being here tonight. Appreciate it as always. And Dennis Overholtz, thank you for being here. I appreciate you. And Dennis says, be sure to hit the thumbs up and leave comments and share all her videos with others to get her numbers up. Well, thank you, Dennis. I appreciate that. Dennis has been one of my first viewers of the channel from the very beginning. So thank you, Dennis. I appreciate you following along and promoting the channel. And hello, Marie. Marie says hello from Pictou, Nova Scotia, Canada. Well, thank you for being here. Much appreciated. And going through some more hellos here. Hello, Wayne Sperlin. How are you doing from Denver, North Carolina? So glad you could join us. And Lonnie Poe, so glad you're here as well. Lonnie says hello from Parkerton, Maryland. It hit 90 degrees last week. Cooler now. Need rain. Loved your road trip. Very video scenery was awesome. Well, thank you. I appreciate that. That was a good trip for sure. And I'm very glad that the weather cooperated the way it did, despite the rain and snow that I started the day out with. And Chris says, question for the night. Are we a pack of Alone fans or just alone in the fact that we are fans of Alone? That's a good question. Matt says to Rob over at Curmudgeon Inn, hi, Rob. My sister-in-law's dad is bringing a Starlink to the cabin next week, so should get a good chance to test it out. Means I don't have to buy one. Fantastic. That is awesome. And Rob over at Curmudgeon Inn says that it is currently 79 at his place in Talkeetna. The temperatures are climbing rather fast here. And Deb Libby is checking in from Maine. Hi, Debbie. How are you doing tonight? Appreciate you joining us tonight. And MP, so glad you could be here. MP says it's 82 on my porch in Wasilla. Ooh, Alaska is hot tonight. And Charles O'Neill, thank you for being here tonight. Charles says, hello, everyone. So glad you could be here. JR says it was 90 there in South Oregon tonight. It's warm all over the place. Hello, Annette Witt. How are you doing tonight? Annette says, hi, I just got home and the phone buzzed and let me know you were on. So glad you could join us. And Chris Watson says to Lonnie Poe, Parkton, small world. I'm at a ROFO in the Middle River presently. And MKP, thank you for being here. Says for 14 years, lived in North Pole, Alaska, retired last summer and moved to Arkansas. Miss Alaska and salmon dip netting, camping, hiking, etc. Maybe next summer head back for a vacation. Well, that would be awesome if you could get here. I just recently went down um, along the Kenai Peninsula and made some stops in Homer and Soldotna and Cooper Landing. And I have to tell you, it's absolutely gorgeous down there. And the North Pole and that area, the Kenai Peninsula of Alaska, have a totally different feel from one another, but both of them are equally as beautiful for sure. And hello, Taller Art Shop Vintage. How are you doing tonight? Says hello from Peru. So glad you could join us. Matt says, sometimes you just need a good road trip. Can't blame you for wanting to drive into town on occasion. I did a 3-hour road trip loop yesterday for fun. Awesome. So glad you had a good time. And hello, Sarah. How are you doing tonight? Sarah says, hi, alone and all. Just a short visit today because we're heading to town on the train. Well, awesome. I hope you and Rob have a wonderful train ride. It'll be nice of you guys to get into town and see your friends. Heidi says, and the drive was beautiful as always. Well, thank you. I appreciate that. I know there was a lot of scenery in that video, but it sure was beautiful all the way throughout. And let's see here. Ira says, I had a barbecue marathon this weekend in honor of my mom's birthday. I asked her if she wanted to eat out, but she preferred being outside at home listening to the birds. Nothing wrong with that. I hope she had a happy birthday, and I hope she has many more to come. And Gina, how are you doing tonight from Derry, New Hampshire? So glad you could be here with us. And Annette is saying hello to Curmudgeon Inn, and so is MP. Wayne Spencer, thank you for being here from upstate New York. So glad you could join us. Ira says, I love traveling with you, enjoying the scenery on hardware trip. Well, thank you so much for that. And hello, Ellie Kamer. How are you doing tonight from Tennessee? Wish I was in Alaska. We wish you were here with us too. It's so beautiful out here right now. 1968 Alaska Sourdough. How are you doing tonight? Sourdough says, cabin fever is real. Sometimes you just have to get out, even if you lose money. This is true. Absolutely true. JR says, the lake you stopped at on the way back looked like the west end of Long Lake. I believe that is exactly what it is. My understanding is that lake is Long Lake, and then the next lake up is Wiener Lake. No joke. So, but very pretty. Both of those lakes are absolutely gorgeous. And like I said, that was one of the very first things I saw as I was heading to my cabin when I first arrived in Alaska. And I didn't have any video files on the phone I had at the time, so I couldn't really take video. But it was breathtaking that day, and as it was in the video as well. Hello, Onto It Aussie. So glad you could be here again. It says, good day alone. How are you? Hello, all. Well, I'm doing well, and I'm so glad you're here. And same with you, Teresa Hunter. Teresa is waving to everyone and says hello from North Carolina. So glad you could join us tonight. And Dixieland Homestead, thank you for being here. Dixieland says hello, all. And let's see here. Clint says, have you had any cool critters show up on the cameras yet? Well, I've not checked the cameras last week or this week yet, but I will be showing some tracks that I found, some very clear and distinct tracks that I found in the driveway just this morning. So, yeah, there's definitely been some activity on the property in the last couple of days. So that's been pretty cool to at least see the tracks, even if I don't catch them on the camera. And Matt says, oh, hi, Ashley Anderson, missed your hi earlier. Yep, there's so much chatter in the chat. Sometimes it's hard to catch everyone. And Chris Watson says, all my people are from near Sylvia and Kowali, talking to Teresa Hunter. And let's see here. Hello, Shirley Williams. How are you doing tonight? Shirley says, hello from Franklin, Ohio. So glad you could join us. And going through, and Lori says, hey, young lady. Hello, Lori. How are you doing tonight? So glad you could be here. And same to you, Chip. Chip says, hello, alone. Hope you're doing well. Is your son driving to Alaska this summer? My son will be flying up this summer. He is going to spend a week in the Anchorage area, traveling around that side of the state with a couple friends of his, and then they'll fly out, and then he'll spend a week here with me. And when he flies, or when he drives out here, he'll be picking up his sister at the airport. So I'll have 2 of my 3 children here this summer with him. So that'll be nice. I'll enjoy that time with them for sure. And hello, Rochelle. How are you doing tonight? Rochelle says hello from Arizona. 105 degrees today. Whew, that's warm. I think I would be a puddle of sweat if I was in that temperature. And Ashley says, I have family in Soldotna. It is an absolutely beautiful area down there on the Kenai Peninsula. And I'm sure you'll be more than happy to visit your family when you finally make the move up, Ashley. At least I hope you'll be happy to visit your family. It's not always the case. And Deb says, hello from Indiana. Hello, Deb. So glad you could join us. Annette says, wow, it's 55 degrees right now. 55 degrees would be very welcome right now because it's rather warm here today. Dixieland says, harvested lemon balm, catnip, and sage today and dehydrated it. That's awesome. I am still getting the garden in. I don't quite have it together yet, but that will be this week's video. So hopefully I have it done by the time I need to start editing the video. I ran into a couple of issues, which I'll cover when I do the video, but it's delayed me a couple of days as I figured out how to proceed. And Rob over at Curmudgeon Inn says, who was from Derry, New Hampshire? I don't remember who that was. Let's see if I can scroll back just real quick and see who it was. Nope. Too many chats. Sorry about that. I'm sure they'll reply to either, Rob. And Dustin Lau, how are you doing tonight from Texas? So glad you could join the chat tonight. And Carol says, hello, alone. Carol here from Alabama. So glad you're with us tonight, Carol. And same to you, Ann Mack, who's coming to us from Murray, Kentucky. So nice to have everyone here tonight. Patricia Herman says, hello, alone in Kenai. Finally able to do a live chat. Love the trip into town on the last video. Beautiful scenery. Take care. Well, thank you, Patricia. Much appreciated. And Rob says to Gina Connolly, how long have you lived in Derry? Lonnie Pohl says, hey, Curmudgeon Inn, send me a message. Dixieland is saying hi to Dustin. And Colorado Pack Rat says howdy to everybody. Howdy, Colorado Pack Rat. So glad you could join us. And says, internet keeps going out. Oh, no. You're probably getting those thunderstorms as well tonight. I hope you guys in Colorado are staying safe, though, for sure. JR says there is also a long lake on the McCarthy Road about halfway. I had actually looked at getting property over off the McCarthy Road on the edge of that long lake. And the only reason I didn't do it is because there's about 60,000 visitors into Wrangell St. Elias every year, most of them going into McCarthy. And I figured that's a lot of traffic to have on the road where your property's sitting. So that was really the only thing that prevented me from buying that property. That and I would have had to build a cabin on that property, which I actually had preferred to buy a property with the structure already on it. And then when I made the trip last year to McCarthy so I could take that flight over the Wrangell Mountains, I was shocked to see how many properties, how many cabins, how many vehicles and things there were right around that lake. From the Google Maps and the imagery that I could see off of Google Earth and what have you, you could not see any of those properties. So it was very deceiving from the internet to what it was in reality. So after the fact, I was very glad I didn't buy that property. Rob over at Curmudgeon Inn says, we have a lot of female moose hanging around our place today. Well, be careful outside. I'm sure they have some babies with them someplace. I did see a lot of moose on these last couple of trips I've taken to and from town. And I've seen a lot of moose tracks on the property, but I haven't seen any of the moose myself just yet. I think they're coming through mainly early morning or late evening while I'm tucked away inside the cabin. So, but be safe for sure. And hello, Terry Galvin. How are you doing tonight? Terry says, good evening. Nice, as always, to see you back. Well, thank you. I appreciate that. I'm glad to see you in the chat as well. Steve over at Steve's Woodworking and Homestead says, hi, all. A lot of people need to click the thumbs up. Thank you for that, Steve. Much appreciated. JR says to Colorado Pack Rat, the internet on her end is busy till about 6 p.m. Alaska time. And let me see if I can remedy that as well, because I didn't plug in the hard line. So give me 1 second and see if maybe that'll make a difference. My bad for doing that, folks. All right, that should fix that. Sorry about that. And sorry for having to go off camera there for a moment to do that. And thank you for the reminder, JR. I still haven't strung up the other Cat 5 cable that I have. Shame on me. I guess I should get busy and do that so I don't have to keep swapping them back and forth. And Lonnie Post says, need to see more of Kenai. Hope he got some treats. Kenai is so overfed on treats that anymore he's just stashing them. He's not even hardly eating them. He's like, I have so many. I don't know what to do with them all. But yeah, Kenai is doing well. So I stopped and met a lady the other day and had Kenai with me, and she was shocked to see or to find out that he's 11 years old and still acts like a puppy. She thought he was much younger than he is, but he's a very feisty boy, that Kenai is. Lonnie, sorry about that. Let's keep going here. And there is Steve's Woodworking and Homestead channel link for everybody. Thank you, Rob, for putting that up. I'm sure Steve would appreciate it if you stopped by and said hi. And Chris Watson says Cherokee is not Alone's first language. L-U-L. L-Well. Yep, it's not. I should say English isn't either, but unfortunately it is. English is my first language, but I just don't speak it well. Unfortunately. And Jared says, women don't sweat, they glisten. Yeah, if only that were true. My forehead would beg to differ some days. I swear, it's so warm outside. Give me 1 second while I take a drink, folks. Voice is getting a little rough there. And Smurf Man, thank you for being here. Smurf says that it's 80 degrees in Arkansas. That's really, really warm. And Colorado Pack Rat says, I'm in the 40s temperature-wise. Yeah, I bet that you're the coolest temperature here on the chat tonight. So you're probably sitting nice and comfortable right now. And Sherry Wright says, hello, Alone. Hope all is fine up there. Thank you, Sherry. Everything is wonderful. And Shirley Williams says, are you going to have a garden this year? I seen when you went shopping the other day that it was snowing. I hope to have my garden. I'm actually working on it currently. I was outside earlier today working on it, and I hope to have it in by the end of tomorrow or the next day. But yes, a garden is definitely in the works here for sure. And Steve's reminding me to take a drink of water. Thank you, Steve. And hello, Pauline Parker. How are you doing tonight? Says, sorry to be late from Florida. No worries. We're just glad you're here to join us and check in with the chat. And Ira says, no rain here in South Georgia. Here for several weeks. My veggies and roses are thriving. I hope that says thriving and not starving. But they might be starving if you're not getting any rain. I hope they're doing well nonetheless. And John in Alaska, hello, how are you doing tonight, John? John says, hello, everyone. It's 75 degrees here, and I'm sitting with my miniature air conditioner blowing on me. An air conditioner sounds really nice right now, John. I am kind of jealous of you, actually. And hello, Betty K. How are you doing tonight? Betty K says, hi, Alone and everyone. So glad you could join us. And there is John in Alaska's channel link. Thank you for putting that up there, Rob. John in Alaska would appreciate it, I'm sure, if you'd stop by and pay him a visit. And Colorado Pack Rat says, yes, ma'am, on the thunderstorms. Yo, that's not good. Hopefully they're not too severe tonight for everyone there in Colorado. And Clint says to John in Alaska, how was that giant cookie that you had the other night? JR says, best way to get to McCarthy is fly in. Yes, the road back to McCarthy is very rough. It is not maintained, and there's a lot of shale and jagged rock on that road. It's actually not recommended to drive the road because most people who drive back there do get a flat tire. And in order to get a tow truck to come out there, you're going to be waiting a few hours for them to get to you, and then it's going to be a few hours to get you out of there. And the other thing is it's quite costly. You're looking at a couple $100 just to get them out there to you. So definitely not recommended to take a drive out on that road unless you really are wanting to see the scenery up close and personal and willing to take that risk. Rosemary Sorg, how are you doing tonight? Rosemary says, good evening, everyone from Indiana. So glad you could join us. And Dixieland is saying hello to Aunt Aussie. John in Alaska says, hey, Clint, it tasted real good. It was filled with M&Ms. Oh, that sounds like a delicious cookie. Betty K is saying hi to Steve's Woodworking, and Steve is saying hi to Rosemary. And there is Dixieland Homestead's channel link for everyone. Please be sure to pay Dixieland a visit, would you? And Dixieland is saying thank you to Rob, as am I, for posting the link. And Clint is saying that cookie sure looked good to John. JR says, I have about 1,800 feet of Cat 5 if you need 100 feet or so. I do have a Cat 5 cable sitting here. I just haven't taken the time to string it through to the router. But if ever I need more, I will be sure to let you know, JR. Much appreciate it. Antoinette Aussie says, we just started winter, so it is the start of your summer in Alaska. Well, I hope you have a very mild and comfortable winter for sure. And Colorado Pack Rat says, drove to Nebraska early in the week and picked up 350 pounds of beef from a butcher friend, super price. And it's been pressure canning like mad last couple of days, at least half of it over the next couple of weeks. Oh my goodness, you've been busy, busy. I hope that all that beef is nice and flavorful and tender for you. It's awesome that you have a friend who is a butcher so that you get a good price on it. And Rob has posted Onto It Aussie's channel link for everybody. So be sure to pay Onto It Aussie a visit. And AFJ, how are you doing tonight? AFJ says, good evening, y'all. Peace and blessings from the heart of Dixie. So glad you could join us tonight. And everyone is doing their hellos to AFJ. And Debbie from Our Bucket List Has Holes is here tonight. Hello, Debbie. Debbie says, hello, everyone. Doing chores, but listening. Much love to all. Well, thank you, Debbie. We appreciate you and much love sending right back into your direction. And Ira says, sorry, not thriving, crying. Oh, yeah, roses take a lot of water for sure. I hope you get the moisture you need soon, though. And hello, Clark Leakins. How are you doing tonight? Clark says, good evening. How was your firewood pile? How has your firewood pile lasted? Did you use more or less than expected? Well, to be honest with you, I don't know. I know that sounds odd, like I should be able to visually see it and understand. I ordered 9 cords last year, and there is a small part of me that says I canceled the last 3 cords and that I only got 6 cords. If I only got 6 cords, then I did better than last year because I have about half a cord left. So that means I would have burnt about half a cord less than I did last year. But if I got 9 cords, then I did far worse because it means that I built or burnt about 2 cords additional over what I did last year. So we'll see when I figure out. I just got to talk to the wood dealer and find the receipts actually, so I can figure out how much wood I actually did burn through. But it wouldn't surprise me if I actually burned through more for a couple of reasons. One is that despite having the new roof put on, I didn't put the insulation in the windows as early as I should have in the winter season. I had ripped out all that insulation from underneath the main floor going into the cellar. And even though I put Reflectix up and I didn't have cold floors, there's still a chance that there was some heat loss there because that Reflectix, when it's right up against the subfloor, only has an R value of 1. Now, if I put a second layer going on the bottom of the floor joist, that'll give me an R value of 23. So there's those 2 things. And then the Christmas weekend when the temperatures dropped down below -50 and I ran out of oil in the oil burner and the things in the cabin froze, it took me a couple of days to get the cabin brought back up to temperature. And I burnt through basically a week's worth of wood in that weekend alone. So it wouldn't really surprise me if I burnt through more than I did the year prior. But I will find those receipts and figure that out for sure. And hello, Connie. How are you doing tonight? Connie Lip coming to us from Arizona says, good evening. It's 101 degrees here in Arizona. Thank you for that awesome trip you took us on. And Kenai seems like quite a good travel companion. He absolutely loves the car. He thinks it's the greatest thing to be able to get in the car and go for a drive. And Justin Subaka says, what is this chat about? This chat is about my life here as a single person living in remote Alaska. And also, it's a conversation between those of you in the chat and myself. So if you have questions about Alaska or something having to do with one of my videos or my lifestyle here in Alaska, I'll be more than happy to answer those questions. And also, a lot of my friends are here and they love to check in and let everyone know how they're doing. We're a giant community here and we appreciate each other. So thank you for the question and so glad you could join us. And there is the channel link to Our Bucket List Has Holes. So glad you put that up, Rob. Thank you for doing that. And Dixieland is saying hello to Our Bucket List Has Holes. or a hole in our bucket list is how they said it. And Falcon 1245, thank you for being here, says coming here from North Carolina. Well, thank you for joining tonight. And Pauline Parker says, I love to hear about Alaska. We had a rainstorm yesterday, which we needed badly. Well, last week I was kind of moaning a little bit about the fact of how wet things had been here, how drizzly and what have you. And then today, with it being an extreme fire danger, we need the rain again as well. So even though we got snow just last week, it's dried out rather quickly. It only takes a day here for things to change from no fire danger to an extreme fire danger. So I feel for you right there. And Rob is answering Justin's comment and says, this is a hangout for fans of Alone in Remote Alaska. Thank you for that, Rob. And Justin says, I'm in Northern Michigan. Well, awesome. Thank you for being here again, Justin. Much appreciated. And Tammy Sue Rescues, how are you doing tonight? She says, hiya, everyone. So glad you could join us. And our bucket list household is saying to Rob, thank you. That's very kind of you to put up the channel link. JR says the McCarthy Road is the old railroad tracks, and they just pulled up the rails and some ties. I believe it because it is quite rough for sure. And it's not wise to take an RV down there either. So if you're planning on going out to McCarthy via the McCarthy Road, I do recommend that you don't take any long trailers or a long I think it's a C class or an A class. I don't know. The bus style RVs should not be going down that road. It's just too tight of turns, and there's not really a whole lot of places to pull over either. AFJ says to JR and Dixieland, hi, y'all. And Onto It Aussie is saying thanks to Rob. And Rob is, of course, saying thanks. And Justin says he is living on 2 acres. It is so nice to have a little bit of land. I'm sure you understand that, Justin. I have 5 acres here in my area of remote Alaska, and then I'm surrounded by federal and state lands. And so I always joke that I have over 15 million acres because my property backs up to the Wrangell St. Elias National Park. And so I won't have anybody behind me and to block my view. But I am so happy to hear you got a little bit of land there for yourself. A little bit of land goes a long way. And Falcon 1245 says North Carolina here. Well, so awesome of you to be here as well, Falcon. I know I've already said it, but I do appreciate you joining us. And Oliver Jackson, thank you for being here again tonight in the chat. Oliver says hello, Alone and all. I hope you are doing well. It's a cool 68 degrees here in my part of Texas. Well, you're doing about the same as what I am right now. I think I'm 69 degrees outside right now, Oliver. So you and I are sweating away together. And Clint says to Connie, wow, we've got the lower 90s, but not quite triple digits yet, but we have a lot of humidity. Either way, stay safe. I think the humidity is worse when you actually have that much, those high of temperatures. It's like it's muggy feeling then. And there is Rob's channel link over at the Curmudgeon Inn. Be sure to stop by and tell Rob that Alone sent you. And JR says, sorry, fat fingers, railroad. Yep, I knew what you meant for sure. Give me 1 second here. All right. And AFJ is saying hi to Rob over the Curmudgeon Inn. Connie says, thank you, Clint. Yes, so grateful for seldom having much humidity here. And hello, Weed Eater. How are you doing tonight? Weed Eater says, hi, Alone and Kenai, and all to y'all too. Driving, so listening. Hope you had a safe trip back from Kennecott. We were just talking about McCarthy, and Kennecott is the mine that is right outside of the town of McCarthy. And Weed Eater got the chance to go there just this last week. So I hope you had a safe trip. And let's see here. We got a lot of hellos going on. And Tammy is saying howdy to Dixieland. Thank you for the welcome. And Rob over at the Curmudgeon Inn is getting a comment from Clint who says, have you tried to saddle up that moose and ride it yet? And Rob is saying to Ashley, I have Firefox books 1, 3, and 5. If you see any others, let me know. Firefox is a survival series. So if anyone has any, hit up Rob in Alaska, because Rob over at the Curmudgeon Inn, that is, because he is on the lookout for some. And AFJ says, if I move to Alaska, I'm going into the firewood business, lol. Well, right now they just expanded. I think they just passed a bill that would expand the availability of people to, especially loggers and what have you, to go in and cut down the dead standing trees in different areas of Alaska. I will tell you that on some of my recent travels, I was amazed to see how much beetle kill there actually is in Alaska. I really don't have hardly any beetle kill, if any, on this side of the state. But as you go further west, it's like for every 10 trees standing, you have one alive and 10 dead from beetle kill. So you could probably make some good money on some firewood sales here. If nothing else, maybe logging them for other purposes. And I know in Colorado, there was a big market for the beetle kill pine because they leave a blue staining in the wood, and it became very sought after, actually. And Rob over at Curmudgeon Inn is saying, DeClint, nope, nor will I. I do not trust them, lol. So yeah, the moose are deadly here. That is for sure. I wouldn't get near one if you paid me to. And Ashley is saying to Rob, we'll gladly take a look for those fire fox books. Matt in Alaska, or Matt AK, sorry, Matt, says, my cabin has 2 stoves, but we don't know if either of them are any good yet. Oh my goodness. I worried about that when I bought my property too, if my stove was working condition or if it was any good. The one thing that I did was I went and bought some new fire bricks and swapped out any that were cracked or broken to make sure that I didn't have heat escaping out towards the cast iron walls. And I did a real good clean out of it. I did this last year when I put on the new roof. I replaced the double wall chimney. I know a lot of people are saying to get a triple wall, you'll have better heat retention and less creosote buildup in it. But the other thing that I also recommend is that the fiberglass trim, the rope trim that goes around the door sill, make sure that that is in good condition, and that you also, check your damper and make sure it's working. If you have those things in place, chances are you have a good working stove. But yeah, it's always risky when you don't actually know the condition of the stove before you use it. And a JR says to AFJ, all you have to do is grow madrone trees. Madrone trees. I'm not sure what those trees are. I'm going to have to look that up, JR. And Tammy Sue's Rescue says, that's so smart. And there is Tammy Sue's channel link for everybody. So be sure to check out Tammy's channel and be sure to tell her that Alone sent you. Thank you for doing that, Rob. And Terry says, getting lots of rain in New Brunswick and Nova Scotia, Canada, forest fire situation is much, much better. That is so good. I was thinking about you as I was driving through and seeing all of that beetle kill and thinking about how fast things could really go up here. So I'm glad that you are getting the rains that you finally needed, or finally getting the rains that you needed, that is. And Steve's Woodworking says 98 degrees or 98 watching, 67 thumbs up. Okay, who's napping? Yep, thumbs up, folks, if you would, please. I would appreciate it. It does help the channel, and it helps the algorithm pick up the videos as well. And Dustin says, Alone, were there issues carrying firearms up on the ferry? I understand it's hard on the Alcan. The ferry was the reason that I was able to bring my firearms with me without any issue. So when you go to check into the ferry, they'll ask you if you have any firearms to declare, and they'll want to make sure that they're unloaded and that any ammunition that you're bringing up with you is stored separately from the firearms, and that they're not stored up where you're at. Then they're going to put a red marker on your vehicle to let the crew on the ferry know that your vehicle has firearms on it. And that's really all there is to it. So as long as you have them, stowed away and separate from the ammo, you shouldn't have any problems. And I believe you can bring up to 500 rounds per person of ammunition with you. So, but they didn't ask how many guns. They didn't ask what type of guns. They didn't ask how much ammunition I had. So it was really, really simple to get through with the firearms that I needed to. And Betty K says, we need rain here in Michigan also. And Steve's Woodworking is also in Michigan, Betty K. I hope that you guys get the rain. In fact, I hope everybody gets the rain that they need, and that the fires are not severe this year as they have been for the last few years. It's kind of crazy. It almost makes me wonder, is it really climate change, or is it a different management style in the forestry divisions, and they're just not doing prescribed burns or tree clearing or things like that. Again, what made me think of that was the new bill that possibly passed here in Alaska, allowing them to cut down more of the dead standing trees. And Clint is saying to Terry, good thing for the rain. That is a horrible fire. Y'all stay safe. Yes. The Canada fires were extreme these last few weeks and did a lot of damage. So I'm glad to see that the rains have finally come through. And Tammy says, I love how you speak. Well, thank you. I appreciate that very much. And she says, I'm appreciative. Thank you. Thank you. Well, we appreciate you, and we appreciate the fact that you have a channel. My take on it is that everybody should have a channel, because we're all kind of we might be introverts, but we're also very curious people and love to see how other people live. So I appreciate you being here with me tonight. And Louise, how are you doing tonight? Says hi from Santa Fe, Texas. So glad you could be here again. And Tammy Sue's Rescue is saying hiya to Louise. And Alaska's Cut the Cord is here tonight, folks. Adam and Phyllis. Adam says, don't forget to give a thumbs up, y'all. Thank you, Adam. I appreciate that. And let's see here. Everyone's saying their hellos to Adam. And JR says to Louise, I have an old friend for the Air Force that moved up there a year ago. Santa Fe is a beautiful area. Santa Fe, Texas, nonetheless, is also a beautiful area. And Tammy Sue's Rescue says, sounds so lovely, Dixie. And Alaska's Cut the Cord channel link. Thank you for that, Rob. I greatly appreciate it. And be sure to check out Adam and Phyllis and all of the things that they're up to these days. And Dixieland says thank you to Tammy. And Clint is saying hello to Alaska Cut the Cord. And Tammy Sue says, I love your voice. Is that weird? No, maybe. I don't know. But I appreciate it nonetheless. And Alaska's Cut the Cord says hello to Rob and Ashley and to Clint. John in Alaska says, thanks, Curmudgeon, for recognizing me. You are more than welcome, John. We appreciate you. And I think, if everyone has a chance, they should go say hi to John as well. And Louise says to JR, I live in the country, peaceful and quiet. That is so nice. And Steve's Woodworking says, not at all, Tammy. Hi, Ernie. So glad you could be here. Ernie from Ernie's Cabin. Ernie says, hello, everyone. What do you like more, black flies or the mosquitoes? To be honest with you, the black flies. The black flies are annoying only in the fact that they get in the windows. They don't really bug you in the house. They're not flying around your food or whatever, believe it or not. But the mosquitoes are in your face. They're all over your body. They're all over the dog. So I would take the black flies, I think. Plus, the black fly season is only in the spring and in the fall. So it's just 2 short periods when it's over 40 degrees, and then they're gone. But the mosquitoes are here to stay, unfortunately, through the majority of the summer. And Rob says, I always try to remember you, my friend. He's talking to John in Alaska. Tammy says, so quick with your thoughts for everyone. Oh, well, thank you. I appreciate it. I try to stay on my toes, but sometimes I do get stumbled up, as you'll probably see as the chat continues on. And Tammy says, I love it. Well, thank you, Tammy. I appreciate it. And there is the link to Ernie's cabin. Thank you, Rob, for putting that up. I'm sure Ernie would appreciate it if you'd stop by and give him a view as well. I'm going to take another drink of water, folks. So one moment, please. Got to keep that voice box going here. And Dixieland is saying hello to Ernie, and we're getting all of our hellos in here. And John Alaska says, hello, Matt, Rob, Clint, Dixieland, and Homestead. I know I'm late saying hi. No worries, John. We know how it goes. And Matt says, you can say Matt in Alaska if it's easier. It actually will be true here soon. This is true. Matt is going to be making the move up very soon, and we're excited for him. I know he's been looking forward to it for quite some time now. JR is saying to Louise, he is probably the only native Hawaiian in Santa Fe. Louise Massa, yeah. And Ira says, something Washington. I'm not following the first part of that. But to get a slice of my mom's birthday cake or Black Forest cake, so much rum in it, it might knock us out. Oh my goodness. Well, it sounds delicious either way. I hope you enjoy it. Oh, that's funny. Steve's Woodworking says a lone Firefox might have the cutting board curing salt pork thingy. That's true. That's true. I should look for the books myself. I thought I had them, but I can't find them. But I still have more boxes, believe it or not, that are still coming up. So maybe they're in those boxes. AFJ says, very interesting alone. I hope to have a portable sawmill too. I was wondering about the beetle kill trees. Yep, they're mainly on the other side. Well, starting about Eureka is where I saw them along the Glen Highway and then all the way west. It's pretty much gone throughout the forest there. And hello, Shannon. Shannon says, hi, Alone, and everyone in chat. Just wondering if you have said your actual name or do you want to keep it private? I have not said my actual name as I do want to keep it private. But you're welcome to call me Annie or Alone, Sister Ironside. Sorry, that was a mouthful right there. You can call me whatever. I don't really mind if you come up with your own nickname for me. I know someone had just recently decided to call me Felicia, which I think is hilarious because if you've ever seen the meme where they say, bye, Felicia, uh, as they're saying, see ya. So I think it's funny. You can call me whatever you prefer. And JR says madrone is a very, very dense tree or a bush. Sorry about that, JR. Well, that's good to know. And Tammy says, oh my, thank you. You're welcome, Tammy, again. And hello, Scott P. Scott says, hi, Alone. It's great to be able to join your chat again. My question for today are, how easy is it to see a dentist in Alaska? Also, how does the accident and emergency system work there? So it depends upon where you're at. So if you're in the big cities, of course, it's just going to be like it is just about anywhere else. But if you're out in these outskirts, I'll give you an example of when I had to go see a dentist to have an emergency tooth extraction. I tried calling the dentist that was closest to me and had an appointment with the dentist. And then that morning they said, oh, sorry, the dentist is out sick and won't be back in for about a week. So it was an emergency. I had to get the tooth out and called the dentist that was even further out. And they said that dentist has been out for a month and isn't expected to be back for a month. So then I called a dentist in Valdez. They were able to get me in, but it meant that I was driving 2 hours to get to the dentist down there. Another thing to keep in mind is I did go to the original dentist, which was at one of the clinics. And the charges between the two, the dentist in Valdez and the clinic, it's like a day clinic type thing, were very different. Same insurance, but what they charge for cleanings and what they charge for just a visit and what have you, I could tell you are very, very different. If I had to do it again, go see the dentist, that is, I would go to the one at Valdez and not go to the one that's in the clinic because I think they're charging hospital prices as opposed to a true dental price. So quite different charges there, but it can be rather difficult depending upon where you're at. And then as far as how does the accident and emergency system work here? Well, I can tell you that for me out on my property and for those in the area of which I live is that if you have an emergency, hopefully you can get 911 call out. That is going to go to the main dispatch system, which is actually in the Anchorage or Wasilla area. Then they're going to radio that out to your local volunteer fire department, or if you have a full-time fire department, they're going to do it out to them. They're going to send out their fire chief and their crew and maybe paramedics, depending upon what your situation is. But it could be anywhere from an hour or greater before they can get to you. So by the time the calls go through and all that dispatch is happening, your situation could change vastly. Then the other thing is that once they come out and assess the situation, they're going to call for an ambulance, or they're going to call for, if they know it's medical, they're going to bring the ambulance with them, to be honest with you. But they might have to fly for life you to Anchorage for things that you wouldn't expect. Right now, there isn't we don't have the facilities right now or the staff right now in this area to tend to all injuries. And so if you need something such as sutures, even they might be sending you on a helicopter into Anchorage to get sutures because there might not be anybody to do it. The clinic that I mentioned earlier, it closes in the late evening. And then in the nighttime, there's nobody there. It's not a 24-hour emergency. So if you have an overnight emergency, you're going to be flown out to Anchorage to get that tended to. So it can be quite difficult to get emergency help here. But one of the things that I recommend, and this is what I've done, is that I set up a group chat or a group text system in my phone. And if I have an emergency, I just send a quick text to everybody. It goes out to all my neighbors that I have on that. And that way, if one of them's out and somebody else gets a message, hopefully one or more can be here in a matter of minutes and help me tend to whatever the emergency is. So that I think knowing your neighbors, even if they're a few miles down the road, is your best line of defense in an emergency in these type of areas. And Scott says, are paramedics available? Do they operate a helicopter? So yes, it'll be a helicopter. Sometimes it is a plane that they're landing as well. And there is a paramedic, I believe, that can operate the helicopter for the Flight for Life situation. But there are EMTs in the area. I don't know if we have true medics or not, but we do have EMTs that will come out with the fire departments to most of the emergencies. And I appreciate those questions. Those are great questions, Scott. Thank you. And Rob over at Curmudgeon Inn says, I love my portable mill, talking to AFJ. So that there are a lot of people in the area who do use sawmills around and what have you. And they're great ways of making income here in Alaska, because maybe somebody like myself who needs some lumber milled but doesn't have a mill themselves and doesn't really want to buy one, because in my mind, for me, I'm not looking to turn it into a business. And for the lumber that I need, it's not worth it for me to buy the mill. I mean, I could buy it and then turn around and sell it, but I'd rather support some of my local community members by purchasing the lumber I need through their mills. And some of the mills in the area, from my understanding, is that you bring them 2 logs, they're going to mill one for you, and the other log they're going to keep as payment. And then they're going to turn around and sell that in whatever form that they want, whether it's milled lumber or firewood. And Tammy says, I never seen anything like this. I'm in awe, mouth open. Oh, well, thank you, Tammy. It's so full of compliments tonight. I really appreciate it. Wayne Spencer says, oops, I was napping. Well, at least you made it here, Wayne. I appreciate it. And better late than never, as always. Matt says, I considered taking the ferry, but they're not doing any cross Gulf trips this summer. Whoo! I was not aware of that. That is not a good thing. I wonder why that is. So they don't take cross Gulf trips during the winter months because the seas are just too rough. The ocean is just way too difficult to cross during the winter months. So basically, I think the last ferry sails across the Gulf in late September, and then it doesn't start up again until May, the end of May. So that's interesting that they're not doing any at all this summer. I know that they've been losing money, and the ferry here in Alaska, which is supported by the state funds, has been struggling these last few years. So that's quite interesting. And Rob over at Curmudgeon Inn says, okay, everyone, I have to get my tail and gear to get to town. You all have an amazing day and alone in remote Alaska. Thank you for having us here tonight. Be well, everyone. Have a safe trip tonight, Rob and Sarah. And I hope you have a lot of fun with your friends. And I'll see you on the next one. And Matt says, cheers to Rob. And AFJ says, I can't wait to saw some logs. I bet. I think it's a great idea for sure, AFJ, for sure. And Ashley is saying goodnight to Rob. And Wayne Guthier says, hi from Northwest Florida. Late again, but I'm here. Hope it all is well with you. Well, thank you, Wayne. I appreciate you being here with us tonight. And like I said earlier, better late than never, Wayne. And Steve is saying busted to Wayne. Rob over at Curmudgeon Inn says later to Matt, John, Alaska, Ashley, AFJ, and everyone else. Thank you, Rob. And again, be safe. Dixieland is saying to be safe as well. And Tammy Sue says, interesting. It does make you think. Yes, it does. it only takes one time for something to go sideways here. And so you really got to be on your toes at all times when you're living this remotely. Onto it, Aussie says, it's raining here, and Lord, do we need it. Well, I'm glad you're getting the rain there for sure. I know last few years you guys have been in a serious drought as well. So I'm so glad you're getting the rain. And AFJ says, catch you later to Rob over at the Curmudgeon Inn. Lori says, Wichita, Kansas, finally getting some good rain as well. That's awesome. So glad you're getting rain, Lori, and thank you for being here. Dixieland says, it rained very little here today. Onto it, Aussie. Oh my goodness. And John in Alaska is saying hello to Cut the Cord. And Clint is saying good evening to Rob over at Curmudgeon Inn. Ira says, Ira is saying something into to live upstate central by, and all it did was rain. Now here in South Georgia, I pray for a shower. Everything is browning fast. Yeah, that's how it feels here on my property too. Like I was looking outside. I was off talking to one of my neighbors who lives a couple miles down from me, and their property was green and lush and muddy, and I was just kind of in awe. They have a whole different array of plants than I have on my property. And then I came home and I was looking out back and I was like, mine's brown. I don't have anything green back there. And that was a couple of weeks ago, but just now things are starting to green up and I'm starting to see the flowers starting to bud out. So I feel for you there, Ira. I'm in the same boat as you are. Just things browning way too fast. Wayne Spencer says, Steve's woodworking at work never was a good at multitasking. I take it that Wayne knows Steve. And Ernie's Cabin says, I'm in need of a new wood stove. Anyone recommend a good one? I'm in need of a new cook stove myself, Ernie. So I'm right there with you looking for a new stove also. And Priscilla Duran, how are you doing tonight? Priscilla says hello from San Antonio or San Antone. We got rain just now. Well, I hope it's not too heavy, but I hope it keeps everything nice and cool for you and your ground green. And Tammy says, nice. I don't want to take up too much space with responses, but this is so cool. I'm going to sit back and absorb. Well, thank you, Tammy. Still appreciate you being here and all of your compliments nonetheless. Jared says to Ernie, if you have the money, Blaze King. That is the one that keeps getting recommended to me too for a wood cook or wood heat stove is Blaze King. From what I understand, they're the most efficient and put out the most BTUs. And Judy Grimm says, hello, Alone. We have been 20 degrees above normal, meaning 90s, and no rain over 2 weeks in central Wisconsin. Scary. Yikes. We may be in for a bigger fire season than I was thinking we might be. But oh my goodness. Well, Judy, I hope that you're staying safe nonetheless there in central Wisconsin. And I do appreciate you being here with us in the chat tonight as well. Clint says, we've had rain the last few days. Nice for now, but in a couple of months, it'll basically be a drought. Oh my goodness. So dry everywhere. Well, Clint, I hope East Texas doesn't have too much of a fire danger either where you're at. And Linda Jones, thank you for being here tonight. Linda says we're getting ate up in Wisconsin from mosquitoes too. Yeah, the mosquitoes have come out in force here. So the bigger mosquitoes that I showed in one of my recent videos, those ones are starting to fade out. And now we're getting the little tiny pesky ones. But I will tell you that the mosquito dunks that I put out, they are doing something. I'm hoping it's going to make a difference. But I looked in the buckets the other day and I could see the eggs on top because they look like soot. It looks like, I don't know how to explain it, like little black patches of whatever just sitting on top of the water. So the mosquitoes are laying their eggs in there, which means that they won't turn into mosquitoes later on. So that's good. And Dixieland is saying congratulations to Matt on his upcoming move to Alaska. And Ernie says, I'll check that out, JR. Thanks. Onto it, Aussie says, are they doing anything to cull the tree beetles? I don't think there's anything that they can do. They have no natural predators. You can't spray for them because they burrow into the tree itself and lay their eggs in there, and then the larvae burrow through the trees. And there isn't anything that they can administer into the tree either that they have found to be effective yet either. So unfortunately, it's just one of those things where nature is going to run its course and the trees are going to die off and the fires are going to come through and burn them up, and then a new plant will take its space, unfortunately. And Randy Barbeck says, Arizona, moving up from Arizona. Well, I am so happy for you, Randy, that you're going to get to move up to Wasilla. Wasilla is a nice area for sure. And there's so much to do over there on that side of the state as well. And AFJ says, are the black flies the same ones that you can raise their larvae for chicken feed? I believe that they are. So there's soldier flies, and then there's, just black house flies and what have you. But I believe all those are ones that you can do. The other thing that I've seen people do is they create a trough of some sort. It's raised up about 3 feet off the ground, and it's lined with plastic or something, and they fill that with water, and then they've got a stand coming up over it. I'm going to turn my hand to where maybe you can see. So a stand that's shaped like a U, and off that stand they've got 2 pieces of plexiglass coming up at an angle. So you have your water trough underneath. I'm trying to show this on camera and see the camera too. It's like trying to French braid your hair in a mirror. So you have your water trough down here, and then you have this angled piece over it. The flies come in, they hit that angled piece thinking it's like clear glass that they can, just fly through. They hit that and they bounce down into that water, and then you collect all the flies and feed them to your chickens. That's something else that I've seen people do that works pretty effectively at getting them some extra protein in their diet. And Steve's Woodworking says, was that Perrier you were drinking? Getting a little uppity for Alaska, aren't you? It is Perrier, but I'm drinking it because I find that I'm not drinking the well water. Even though I have the Berkey to filter it, I find that for whatever reason, it's flat tasting or what have you. I'm not drinking it, and I was getting a bit dehydrated. So I started buying this when I got the Costco card, and I think the carbonation helps me to drink more. But yeah, not trying to be highfalutin or too fancy pants or whatever. And Fuzzy, how are you doing tonight? Fuzzy Forks here, and Steve says, Steve, don't you drive women to drink? Steve says, in Alaska, when a dentist takes a day off, that means he is hunting or fishing. That is true too. So that is one other thing about any of the services out here, really, is that you'll see restaurants, and there's a gentleman who delivers water up in Glen Allen. All sorts of businesses, though, they'll shut down for hunting and fishing season. So they may take a week off, they may take a few days off, but they will close down to go hunting or fishing. The other thing that you'll see here is that a lot of businesses are closed on Saturdays. The banks are not open on Saturdays, at least in the rural areas. There's a tire store that's closed on Saturdays, and they're in the major cities. Other restaurants will be closed on Mondays or whatever. You just have to be aware that your schedule is going to change, and you need to be patient with things. Even if you do find a business that's open, it may not open till midday, and then close just a few hours later. So things definitely are hard to navigate up here for businesses. So that is true, though, that you will see them close for hunting and fishing. And Ira says, I was told to make a dentist appointment at 2:30. Tooth 30. That's hilarious. Tooth 30. And Steve says, yes, I can. Hey, Fuzzy. Dixieland says, Alone, if you can grow toothache plant or lemon balm, they are both good to help with toothaches. Well, that's good to know. I was not aware of either one of those, but thank you for that. And Ann Witt says, Lowell, when said that nickname Annie, my first thought was she was calling Annie Oakley. I hope I spelled that correctly. Yes, Annie Oakley is, and I believe you spelled it correctly as well. Maybe I think it's, I don't know. Either way, I knew what you meant. And yeah, that's what a lot of people, because I carry a 357 on a gun belt, old Western style drop holster. And so a lot of people refer to me as Annie Oakley because I'm always wearing dresses and carrying that gun around, which I think is kind of ironic and funny. And Fuzzy says, I think she should change her channel name to Alone with Fuzzy. Oh my goodness. Dixieland says also garlic is a natural antibiotic. Yes. As long as I believe it loses its potency after about 10 minutes. 10 minutes. Sorry about that. So as long as you're eating fresh garlic, I believe it's going to have its strongest potency. And Fuzzy says to evening to Stevie. And Dogman says, howdy, folks. Hello, Dogman. So glad you could be here with us tonight. Ashley says, you don't need a dentist for a tooth. I specialize in weddings, funerals, event planning, tooth extractions, varmint control, divorce consultations, and financial advice, just to name a few. Ashley, you sound like Dork. So if you're not familiar with Dork, Dork is a skit that I did back when I first started this channel, and for food delivery here in Alaska. And I made the joke that Dork ran a wedding planning, VCR repair, and food delivery service. Oh my goodness. And Steve is saying hello to Dogman, and so is JR, as well as Dixieland and Ashley. And Fuzzy says, Ashley, I agree. Fuzzy carries vice grips with to pull gold teeth in the survival event. Oh my goodness. And Chris Watson says, I'm back. By the way, oh, LOL. I get it now. He says, by the way, LOL is lol. Laughing out loud. I get a lot of the comments about how I just say lol instead of laughing out loud, but so be it. Matt says, staffing issues. The ferry system can't staff all their boats. Oh my goodness. That is a big thing here too, is so I had actually looked when I was looking to get a new job. I'd looked at getting a job on the ferry, and you basically have to live in one of the ports in order to take the or work on the ferry, and you're going to be gone for 2 weeks at a time on average. You do get to stay on the ferry, of course, while you're doing that, but it's easier if you're in one of the port towns than it is if you're elsewhere in the state. So that's not good though. John Alaska says to Scott, look into Guardian Medical Services here in Alaska, $137 per year, and they have planes, helicopter, and ambulance services for those who live remote. And onto it, Aussie says, see ya to Rob. Ashley Anderson says, Fuzzy, every day is a survival event around here. Steve says, note to self, don't kick the bucket around, Fuzzy. And Dogman, Clint is saying hello to you. And Fuzzy says to Steve's working, good self-advice. And John in Alaska is saying good night to Rob. Madeline Jones, how are you doing tonight, Madeline? Madeline says, hi, just listening from California. So glad you could be with us tonight, Madeline. I greatly appreciate it, and I hope all is well with you. And Chris Watson says, I knew the Beatles were bad for us all. Imagine if the Beatles all died in a yellow submarine. Oh my goodness. And thank you, Dogman, for the $20 super chat. I really appreciate it. And he says, here is a gallon of Alaska gas. Pretty much. The gas here is quite expensive for sure. So thank you for that, Dogman. I really appreciate it. JR says, you can ship firearms to yourself via a place in Tok. You should check if you can bring just the ammo onto the Alcan. Yep. So yeah, if you're going to ship your firearms up, you'll need to do it through a licensed FFL, a firearms dealer. And also, you'll be shipping them from a firearms dealer as well. So they'll go from dealer to dealer, and then you'll pick them up at your destination. So thanks for that reminder, JR. Appreciate that. Chris Watson says, not sure if Madrone would survive up there. That's what I was wondering. Because even like in the area where I live, there are no birch trees. If there are, they're very far and few between. It's mainly aspens and poplar, or balsam. I can't remember. It's a type of cottonwood. It's a weedy type tree, and then spruce. But then as you go further west, they have aspens, they have alder, and a whole bunch of different types of trees than I have here. And like, we don't have any, what's the tree that I'm thinking? Elm. There's no maple trees, things like that. So it just depends upon the part of the state that you live in, what type of trees are going to grow as well. And Dustin is saying thanks to JR. JR says, oops, bring just the ammo on the Alcan. Yep, knew what you meant. Matt says, yeah, just checked with Alaska Marine Highway System. So AMHS is the anagram for their thing. And it says sailing calendar again, 0 cross Gulf trips this season. Yikes. I'm glad that I moved up when I did, and I wasn't planning on taking that trip on the ferry just to find out I wouldn't be able to. And Chris Watson says, any FFL can ship and transfer firearms for a modest fee. The downside is that under the radar, non-4473 bang sticks are now on 4473s. And I'm not familiar with the 4473 anagram or what that stands for. So, and Linda Jones, thank you for being here. And Linda says to Judy, the weather in Wisconsin is crazy. And Dogman says, pour Bud Light on the Beatles. Oh my goodness. JR says to Chris, Eric at SLA sent his, so Eric over at Simple Living Alaska sent his via FedEx to Toke, but you have to ship next day. Check one of their early videos. Yep. And Ashley is giving Dogman a thumbs up. And Chris Watson says to Dogman, no, the Beatles already like wood. Bad joke. Oh my goodness. And Clint says, I can honestly say that I've never tried to French braid my hair in the mirror. Well, when you do, Clint, let me know. I'd like to be there to see it. And Dogman says, Bud Light makes the Beatles turn into Boy Georges, therefore ending the species. Chris Watson says, my father mauled, I'm sure he meant mailed me some in the 90s directly. Not recommended past 9/11, though. Dogman says, I have been Digman as well. Just dug a 30 feet French drain. Oh my goodness. Oops, 50-foot French drain. He says, and BEA 400A says, people must be signed into YouTube to give a thumbs up and a comment. Hello, Miss Annie. Hello. I'm just going to call you Bay. Hello, Bay. And I'm so glad you could be here again. Appreciate it. And Chris Watson is laughing at Dogman. And Dogman says, video I just posted tonight shows the Bud Light bottle I found on my land and how I dealt with it all. Yes, do be sure to check out Dogman's channel as well. Unfortunately, Rob has stepped out for the night, so he won't be putting up the link. But Dogman is quite the character and has quite a few channels. Well, he has 3 channels and has quite an interesting channel because he raises and rehabilitates dogs that have had a rough life. So thank you for doing that, Dogman. I really appreciate it. And I'm sure he'd appreciate it if you check out his channel. And Ira says, I bought fresh watermelon the other day, cut it open, and it was loaded with maggot. Oh my goodness. Will be a while before I eat some again. Ooh, yeah, that would be the worst. Yikes. And Chris Watson JR is saying to you, look up Simple Living Alaska's early vids. Eric talks about shipping firearms, and it was within the last 5 years. John Alaska says, Ashley, where have you been all my life? Lol. And Dixieland says, I would love to live in Alaska, but it would be a learning experience on gardening for sure. Yes, I think even for me, even though I grew up in Colorado, we had short growing seasons of 90 to 110 days in Colorado as well. I think just the amount of sunlight that I get here is going to do some difference here. And then also having voles, because I didn't have voles in Colorado. I didn't even have moles in Colorado. So I think those 2 things are going to be a little bit different for me as well. So a big learning curve, regardless of where you come from when you come up here, I think. And Chris says, okay, I need to make this an early night. Well, have a good night, Chris. I appreciate you being here tonight. And I appreciate you bringing the humor along with you as always. So I hope you have a good night, and I'll catch you on the next one. And we're getting our good nights in for Chris here. And Clint says to Ira, that would be nasty. Yes, maggots in your watermelon would be quite the sight that I think would turn most people's appetites. And Dixieland says, alone, there is also a company named Jas Medical that you can order antibiotics and other stuff from to keep in your preps. And yes, I've seen that recently. I know Canadian Prepper did a video about it not too long ago, because it used to be that you could buy over-the-counter antibiotics that were meant for horses or dogs, fish, things like that. They no longer are allowed to sell those without a prescription. And so now if you need antibiotics, but you're in an area where you can't easily get to a doctor, you can at least go through JAS Medical. They'll do a quick consult with their physicians, and then they'll send you some based upon your needs. So there's at least that opportunity for those people who might need to get some antibiotics stored away. And then Ashley says to John, "You would be more than a little surprised if you met me." Oh my goodness. Dogman says, "I like firearms. Got me a few, and if I step on a firearm man, then I get fire feet." Oh my goodness. Oh, that's too funny, Dogman. Chris Watson says, "To all those living in Alaska, consider volunteering at your local fire company and becoming an EMT. I got my first EMT cert in Alaska in the 1990s. And I can tell you that the fire departments here are always looking for volunteers because people come and go and what have you. But it's also a great way to see Alaska because you get to work with the forestry department as well. So even if you don't become a firefighter, maybe even consider getting taking on a volunteer position with the forestry department and helping to prevent forest fires that way as well. And Chris is saying now good night to Ashley in Dixieland. And Dogman is saying later, folks, I got to put my 10 dogs to bed. Spay and neuter your dogs. Yes, that is correct. Keep the world safe and keep those puppies safe as well, because there's nothing worse than when there's unwanted animals and they're out free roaming the streets and then they wind up getting hurt by a vehicle. I actually found Kenai because someone had abandoned him, and he was nothing but skin and bones when I found him. So I agree, spay and neuter. And JR says 4473 is equals ATF form that you have to fill out to buy a firearm. Oh, that I should know what it is. I've been filling that form out like crazy. And they did just recently make some changes to that form as well. So if you are in the habit of just going through and pencil whipping it because you become so familiar with the form, be aware there's some new questions on there, and you do actually have to think about what they're asking you because they've changed some things. And Captain Walker 27, thank you for being here. And Captain Walker also says 4473 is the NICS check form, and you don't need to ship from FFL just to an FFL. Oh, I didn't realize that. I thought you had to ship from one to one. So that's good to know. And E. Cheson, how are you doing tonight? Says, hi. Can you tell the story about your dog? Well, I can tell you a little bit about Kenai. So I found Kenai about 20 miles outside of East Glacier, and he was about 6 months of age when I found him. And like I said, he was skin and bones. It was late evening, and I was on a 16-day overlanding trip, and I was like on day 4 of that trip. And he just happened to come up out of a riverbank. I drove around for a few hours looking around for someplace that maybe he had come from. But like I said, it was 20 miles from the nearest anything. And I really couldn't find anything. When I drove into East Glacier, all I saw was more stray dogs running around the town, and thought I can't take them all. And I couldn't find a shelter or anything like that. And so I made the decision to bring him with me on that trip. And I did post some classifieds, Facebook and what have you at the time to see if, um, anyone was missing a dog, but I got no responses. And so on he went with me, and that's how I got Kenai. But he is my best friend now. He is so fantastic of a dog, and I'm very happy to have him. But it's the reason that I do think that, people should be more cognizant of bringing puppies into this world, because if you're not going to raise them yourself, then chances are someone else might not either. But thank you for that. I appreciate it. And Dustin says to Chris Watson, yeah, that's something I don't really want to do. In Texas, the 4473 isn't required for private transactions. And Bay says, but you know me, incognito tonight. Well, my other personality anyway. Yep. I know who you are exactly, and I appreciate you being here, no matter what personality you're bringing to the table. And Coy Lake, how are you doing tonight? Coy says, how often do you hunt or fish? Well, I haven't gone fishing in Alaska yet, but I do have some fishing trips planned, some down on the Kenai Peninsula and some throughout other lakes throughout the side of Alaska. So when I was back in Colorado, it was every single weekend that I was fishing. Any chance I got to go to the mountains, I was fishing. And hunting, I did for the first time last fall, though I was not successful in it. But I will be doing more hunting for caribou and moose and the like as fall rolls around this year as well. So I'll bring you guys along for those adventures as often as I can as well. And Anto Adasi says, what is the employment situation like in Alaska in the hospital systems? Are they short-staffed due to the happenings of the last few years? Yes, they are short-staffed and they're always hiring, and you can make really good money up here. And to be honest with you, my understanding is that the traveling nurses and the traveling doctors actually are the most successful. And you can, travel to just about anywhere in Alaska. So you could get a job working up on the northern slope. So Prudhoe Bay or Barrow, things like that, or even in some of these more remote communities, or even in the bigger cities such as Juneau, Anchorage, or Fairbanks, as a traveling nurse or traveling physician, and do really, really well with that. But yes, we are short-staffed in the hospital systems here, is my understanding as well. And Clint is saying good evening to Dogman, and Charles O'Neill is saying good night all. Good night, Charles. I'm so glad you were here. Even if you're just popping out for the evening, nice of you to be here with us nonetheless. And hello, Donna. Donna says, late, sorry. Hope you all are doing well. Hello to each one of you. Well, thank you, Donna. So glad you made it here again and could join the chat tonight. And Ashley is saying good night to Charles. Ira says, I have seen photos of enormous cabbages in Alaska. I have a hunch that yours will be in Guinness Book of Records, lol. Well, I don't know about that. We'll see how well I do once I get them in the ground. But yes, because of the, almost 24 hours of sunlight that you get in much of Alaska, the cabbages grow really, really well, and potatoes do well here as well as other crops. But I don't remember what the record was, but it was like 100 and some pounds. It's crazy big. And John Alaska says to Ashley, and that would be a very long video, lol. JR says, Captain Walker is correct. You can ship to yourself. Or you can ship to yourself. Oh, I gotcha. Okay. Dixieland Homestead says, alone, you can also get garlic pills as an antibiotic if you take 4 of them 4 times a day. I wonder if you'll smell like garlic after doing that. But that's good to know. So thank you for that, Dixieland. And hello, Joseph Werner. How are you doing? Joe says hello from Boise, Idaho. So glad you could be here tonight, Joseph. Much appreciate seeing you back again. And Steve is saying hello to Joseph as well. And Tammy says, sounds like Bob Barker, but so true. Tells you my age. Lol. Yep. Bob Barker and The Price is Right. If only I had giveaways. And JR says, yes to the first question, no to the rest. If you can, else you can get 15 years room and board at the Fed boarding house. Yikes. Got to pay attention to what you're doing on those forms when you're getting your next check done for sure. Dixieland says, I just rescued a full-blooded German Shepherd. She is a sweetie, but whoever had her did not take care of her. But she has a forever loving home now and a family that loves her. Well, that's awesome, Dixieland. I love it when I hear stories like that. That's how I feel about Kenai. I'm like, he has nothing to worry about because I will be sure to take good care of him for the rest of his life, for sure. And Wayne Gauthier says, good night alone. Bedtime for me. Be well. Well, good night, Wayne. Thank you for being here with us tonight. I hope you sleep well. And Tammy says, where's the big will to spend? Woo! Yeah, like I said, if only those prizes were here. I just need supporters, I guess, people to provide those prizes. And hello, Raphael. How you doing tonight? Raphael says, hello, everyone. I am listening. So glad you could join us again. Much appreciated. And Dustin says to Dixieland, it was meant to be. And Steve is saying hello to Dixieland. I'm sorry, to Raphael. Brain's not catching up with the mouth here. And Tammy says, I'm not making light of an animal care though. Yep, I understand that for sure. And Dixieland says to Dustin, yes, she is my 10th rescue. Wow, you are quite blessed to have been able to rescue 10 animals, 10 dogs. That's crazy. But it's a good thing. We need more people like that will go to the pounds and, pick up strays and help to rehome them and what have you. And Raphael says, something in Alaska. I didn't quite get that. Tammy says, my Siamese is neutered. That is perfect. Thank you for doing that, Tammy. And Jared says, a doctor and his nurse wife here also do this summers in Anchorage VA hospital. Yep. And that's where the VA hospital is too. So I don't know if there's one in Fairbanks or not, but I do know the ones in Anchorage. So if you're a veteran and you're looking to move out to these rural communities, you're going to need to work with the VA hospital in Anchorage to get referrals for any services that you might need if you're not going all the way into Anchorage to get medical attention. So something else to be aware of as well. And Steve Woodworking says, what was Bob Barker's original show? Ooh, I don't know. I only know him from The Price is Right. And Tammy Sue is saying hi to Donna. And Steve's Woodworking says, that shows my age, right? And hello, Raised in Alaska. How are you doing tonight? Raised in Alaska says world record Alaska cabbage was 138 pounds. Yeah, I thought it was something like that. So thank you for providing that, Raised. And Raised in Alaska has a wonderful channel too. So if everyone could go check him out when you get a chance, I'm sure he would appreciate it also. And Ashley is saying hello to Raised. And Tammy Sue says, Lo, it was Price is Right. And D Stu, how are you doing tonight? D says, what's the weather today where you are alone? It is in the high 60s here today, but in other places of Alaska, it is hotter than that, in the upper or lower 70s, in some places 80s. So I'm fortunate that I didn't get quite that warm today. And Two Bears says, hi, everybody. Hey, Two Bears, so glad you could be here again tonight. And Clint says to Steve's Woodworking, truth or consequences? Oh, ding, ding, ding. Steve says, I had forgotten all about that show. Wow, that's a long time ago. Dixieland says hi to Two Bears. And JR is telling me that the IWIW equals I wish I was in Alaska. Got you. Thank you for clarifying for me. And Steve's Woodworking says, did you cheat? And Raphael says, I wish I were in Alaska. So thank you for clarifying again. And Tammy Sue says, do you sing? Absolutely not. I cannot carry a tune to save my life. I have no rhythm, no harmony. You would cover your ears and run for cover if you heard me singing. Clint says, yes, do lull a little before my time. And Dixieland is saying hi to Race in Alaska. Race in Alaska is saying hello to Ashley. The days are getting along here in Alaska. Yes, the days are rather long here right now. So I did a video, I think it was 2 or 3 videos ago, that was showing how light it is at all hours of the night. And right now, since it's been a couple of weeks since then, it'll be a couple of weeks till we hit the summer solstice. It really isn't getting dark at all. I was traveling this last weekend, and I can tell you that at midnight, it was still bright out. You could see everything. And I was even further south than I am here at my cabin. So, and Two Bears says that's a lot of cabbage at 138 pounds. Yes, you could make a lot of coleslaw with that for sure. JR says, I think the record king salmon is 97 pounds on the Kenai. Woo, that's a big salmon. I caught salmon when I came up here years ago on a cruise and took a excursion where I went salmon fishing, deep sea salmon fishing. And I don't know what the weight of the salmon was, maybe 50 pounds or something, but I do know that I felt like that salmon was almost as long as I am tall, because I remember holding him up and having, his jaw right there at my shoulder, and his fins were touching the ground. And I'm about 5 feet tall, so it was pretty big. It was pretty hefty catch, that's for sure. And Steve's Woodworking says that I used to watch it, Truth and Consequences, that is, with family when I was little. I was gonna make a joke, but I'll stop. And Ashley says hello to two bears, and D Stu says, "Are the bears starting to come out?" Yes, the bears are starting to come out. They've been out for quite some time now, probably about a month or two that they've been starting to come out of hibernation. And I've had a small black bear roaming my property here for the last few weeks, so they are out and about. And I know there was a grizzly not too far from my house the other day as well, though I didn't get it on camera. So, unfortunately. And Tammy says, I asked Alexa, Truth or Consequences. It was in the 1950s. She's dating you, Steve. She's giving away your age there. JR says, I watched her carry a bucket, but there was no, but there was not tune in it. Laughing, laughing. And Tammy says, man, I'm slow. Well, join the club. I am too. Takes me a while to sometimes get the jokes. And Sourdough says, only 16 more days and we can start going the other way on the daylight. Yes, it'll be nice when the days start getting a little bit shorter and it gets a little darker in the night. It's not too hard to sleep right now because I did get a blackout curtain put on my uh, door in my bedroom. But I have some of the other curtains open. And so about 4 o'clock in the morning, the light's still flooding in. So I need to close those curtains because it's pretty bright outside right now for sure. And Steve says, alone singing in the kitchen. Now we know why the wolves are howling. Shame on me. Yes, that might be why exactly. And Tammy says, I think it's the log or the lag. Oh, got you. The lag. Two Bear says, so Miss Alone can't carry a tune in a bucket. Hee hee hee. Nope, I cannot. It would be bad if I started a singing career. It would not go anywhere. Tammy says my brain is lagging. Mine too, actually. It's been a long day. And Tammy also says, well, your speaking voice is magnificent, really. Well, thank you for that. I appreciate it. Two Bears says, but cabbage. Two Bears, you're like me. I don't know anybody else who loves cabbage, but it's actually my favorite vegetable, believe it or not, is cabbage. And sorry for that, folks. Had to take a drink. And Jared says, pulled in a 300-pound marlin in Cabo in 1989. Took 50 minutes to reel it in. Oh my goodness, I bet you were tired. That's quite the fight for sure. And that's quite a huge marlin, 300 pounds. Woo! And Steve's Woodworking says, alone, don't self-edit. Say the darn joke. Now I forgot it. I don't even remember what I was going to say. Brook Trout One, how are you doing tonight? Brook Trout says, what kind of firearm do you carry? So most days I'm carrying a 357 snub nose, and some days I'm carrying my 10 mil. I have a couple different 10 mils that I have, and then I also carry a 38 special when I'm in town. So depends upon the day, depends upon the situation, and sometimes depends upon what outfit I'm wearing, believe it or not. So what holster I'll be using. But most days it's a 357 snub nose. And Ichesand, how are you doing tonight? Says, do you watch TV there? Do you read a lot of books? Do you have Starlink or satellite internet and cell service? So I don't watch TV. I don't have any television service in the cabin whatsoever. If I'm going to sit and watch something, it's going to be YouTube channels like Steve's Woodworking and Homestead or John in Alaska. I prefer to watch my friends' channels and see what they're up to. And then, do I read a lot of books? I don't really read novels, if that's what you're asking. If I'm going to read something, it's typically going to be a reference book, or something along those lines. I'm a research fanatic. I like to research things. So reference books it is for me. And then I don't have Starlink or satellite internet. I actually have DSL. So the DSL connection is miles down the road from me. And I have upload speeds of 1 megabyte per second and downloads of 11 megabytes per second. So it's pretty slow at that. And I do have cell service, but it doesn't work. It's really bad cell service, to be quite honest with you. So I have spotty signal here in the cabin and on the property. And along the Glen Highway, from basically this side of Eureka until I get to Sutton, so almost to Palmer, I have no cell signal whatsoever. So I carry a Garmin for those trips. But yeah, the cell signal here is really bad. And the cell company is the local cell carrier in the area. So it's not like I'm using some out of state carrier. I'm using the local cell company, but it's horrible cell service. And Dustin is saying good night to everyone. Well, good night, Dustin. I do appreciate you being here and appreciate you taking the time to chat with us tonight. And Steve, if that's your birthday, shame on you for throwing that up on the screen. Oh my goodness. And Two Bears is laughing at JR. And D says, I absolutely loved your video where you just went to buy wood. The scenery was out of this world. Thank you for that. You are quite welcome. I'm so glad you were able to come along on that trip with me. And Dixieland is saying good night to Dustin, and so is Ashley. And Steve's Woodworking says, me and cabbage, yum. Like I said, cabbage is my absolute favorite. I can't even begin to explain to you why I like cabbage so much, but I absolutely do. And Two Bear says, I could live on cabbage. Yep, I feel the same way. And Bay says, any tiny cabbage called Brussels sprouts? Oh, yeah, and tiny cabbages called Brussels sprouts. Yeah, I love Brussels sprouts too. When I was a kid, my mother boiled Brussels sprouts and they were so bitter. I couldn't understand how anybody could eat them. But then, over the years, I've tried them different ways: roasted, fried, what have you. And Brussels sprouts are really delicious. I wish more places served them. Actually, they're so good. And Ira says, I love cabbage as well, fried, stuffed, and sauerkraut. Yes, exactly. And Steve agrees as well. And he says creamed cabbage is his favorite. I've never even had creamed cabbage. I'm gonna have to try that. And Raised in Alaska is saying hello to Dixieland's homestead. And Tammy Sue says, is it Ann or Annie Oakley? Annie Oakley it is. Yep. So my name's not Ann. But like I said, some people have called me Annie as in reference to Annie Oakley. And Julie says, how and where do you get a haircut there? And what about the dentist? So as far as haircuts go, I cut my own hair. I don't know if there's anybody in the area that cuts hair. I've not seen a hair salon anywhere. I'm sure there's some in Palmer and Wasilla, Anchorage, Fairbanks, but I cut my own hair here. And then dentist, someone asked, how hard is it to see the dentist here? And the dentists are far and few between. And depending upon where you're at, you might be traveling an hour or two to get to a dentist, even in an emergency situation. And even at that, there's no guarantee that you're going to get to see one because they might be out hunting or they might be out ill and you might be out of luck. I was explaining that when I went to the dentist, there were 3 dentists available in the area, 3 offices, that is. And out of the 3, only 1 was available. So, and Eden, how are you doing tonight? Eden Crumbly says, hey, gang, just found this channel. I'm planning on moving to Alaska as a vet in a while. Curious, how did you find friends and communities once you moved there, given that it's so isolated? So I lived here for a year, just over a year, before I met a single person in this area. Now, I had met my contractor who wound up replacing the roof on my cabin, but even at that, that was by a fluke, if you will, because the contractor that I wound up using doesn't advertise. He doesn't have a web page or anything like that. And I needed an emergency repair done on the roof. And I just happened to look up, online and saw an article about this guy and was able to find him and look him up that way and get in touch with him. And he drove out 7 hours, not 7 hours. What am I saying? He drove out several hours to come out and do this emergency repair for me. But I lived here for alone for a year before I met any of my neighbors. And I only happened to meet one of my neighbors because when my son was here visiting, there were some trees that had blown down across the road that I live on. And my neighbor happened to be behind me as we were trying to clear the road of trees. So it can be difficult to meet people here, but you're going to meet them when you go to one of the local markets, if you get the chance, or if there's an eatery in your area, such as, a bar or, a restaurant in your area, you'll get the chance to meet your neighbors that way. Also by volunteering, as I've talked about earlier, for the local fire departments, because a lot of those are volunteer, the forestry department, or if there's a civic organization in the area where you live, that's another way where you might meet people. In the area where I live, though, there is no government body. So I don't have a mayor or a city council or anything like that. There's nobody in the area to tell me what I can and cannot do on my property. That is with the exception of the federal government, of course, and the state of Alaska, but no local government whatsoever. So, and Dixieland is saying hi to Eden, and JR is also saying to Eden, welcome to the info channel. Well, thank you also for saying that, JR. And yes, Eden, if I didn't already say it, thank you for being here, and thank you for your questions as well. I do really appreciate those. And Two Bears says, Miss Annie, after you showed us the $7 for the 2x4s, I've been walking around in shock. I wish the 2x4s that come off my sawmill sold for that. I'd have enough to buy land in Alaska and move there by the end of the summer. Yes. Well, and everyone asked, and I forgot to put it in the video, how much do the 2x4s cost at Lowe's? They were $5.21, I think, for a 2x4. So $2 more at Lowe's than they were at Home Depot. And I should have just got them when I was in Anchorage, because Anchorage had 900 and some of them in stock. So shame on me for being fussy and not getting them in Anchorage. And Steve says he was born in the 1900s. Yeah, early 1900s from the sound of it. And Fuzzy says, women love cabbage due to the gas effect later on. I think not. That's not my favorite. Oh, my goodness. And Matt says, give me all the Brussels sprouts and asparagus. Yes, I love asparagus too. That is so awesome. Steve Woodworking says, Brussels sprouts and cheese sauce. I'm going to have to try that one also. Definitely going to have to try that one. Steve also says, creamed cabbage, throw in a few peas in there and maybe some smoked salmon. Oh my God. Yeah, I think putting in a ham hock with the cabbage like that sounds good. I know a lot of people grow collard greens. I save myself the trouble. It doesn't have quite the same taste, but it has close to it taste. I don't grow the collards, but I just save the outer leaves of the cabbage and I cook them up just like collards, and they're just as good. And Fuzzy says, Stevie, you ain't dead. You just smell funny. And Antuadasi says, I've watched your trip to town vid last night. Can't believe how beautiful Alaska is. The more I see, the more I want to be there. Oh, well, thank you. Alaska is absolutely gorgeous. The drives never get boring. And in fact, the drive on the Glen Highway, sometimes I've taken that drive, and even though there's only one way for me to get to Palmer or Wasilla without going, 10 hours out of my way, sometimes I'm on that road and I'm looking going, is this the right road? Is this the same road? Because it looks so different depending upon the lighting of the season or the day, the way the shrubbery changes just in a matter of a couple of days. So yeah, Alaska is a head turner for sure. And Steve says, yep, and am at the age where I don't gas. Oh my goodness. The food chat. Yes, that's what this channel or this live stream turns into a lot of times, folks, is people saying what they ate for dinner, what the weather is in their area, what they've been up to lately. So if you're new to this, I appreciate you being here and I appreciate you hanging out and chatting with us and everybody. It is a wonderful group of people that I have pop into the chat every week. And like I said, if you have questions about Alaska or my lifestyle, I am more than happy to answer those as well. And JR says, just looked it up and started calling you Annie last June. Yep. It was about last June when it started. And I think it was because of, again, the skirts and the Western holster, drop holster with the 357. And Dixieland says, cheese and peas are good too. I like Parmesan cheese on my peas. That's a tongue twister right there with a little pepper. And I think that's one of the best lunches. Or to do, I forgot what they're called now. I don't know why I can't think of it. I can picture them. Oh, I'll come back to it later. I can't remember what it's called. Oh, I'm sorry about that. Ira says canned Brussels sprouts and cabbage with apples simmered. Yes, cabbage and apples is fantastic, especially when you throw a little bit of fennel in there and caraway seed. Oh, it's so delicious, especially if you braise some pork ahead of time and then do it in the juices of the pork. Very, very tasty. Hello, Renice. How are you doing tonight? Renice says, hello, Alone. Is there a vet for Kenai Close? There is not a vet for Kenai Close. I think there might be a vet in Glen Allen, but the next closest one would be in Palmer. So, yeah, there's not a vet in this area for sure. But luckily, he is a very healthy puppy, and I hope he stays healthy for a while. Knock on wood. Two Bears says, I'll have to look up Lowe's 2x4s here. I am not sure what they get. I never buy them there. Just pressure treated 2x4s and 2.6s and 4x4s. Well, I didn't realize that Lowe's was going to be such vastly different in price from Home Depot. Usually they're pretty close to each other, neck and neck in price, but not this time. The 2x4s, like I said, were definitely more expensive. And Tammy says, they say add a little bit of baking soda to a batch and it cuts down the gas. Isn't that right? I haven't tried it, but I might do that at some point. And Chesson says, where did you buy the squeegee thingy for your laundry? What is your laundry soap recipe? Do you make your own dish soap? So I haven't tried making dish soap yet, though I would love to do so. The ringer thing is actually called a mangle, and you can get them on Amazon is where I got that one from. Excuse me, my water's returning on me. But you can get it on Amazon, and it's just an industrial style ringer. And my laundry soap recipe, you can find it in, I believe it's episode 22 is the laundry soap recipe. No, that's not correct. Maybe 11. JR, if you're still around, can you look that up for me and let me know what video that was on? But the recipe will be found in the description below the video. So if you just click on the words underneath the video, it'll open up and the whole written recipe will be right there for you. So I do love my laundry soap recipe. I don't add soap directly to my laundry soap or to my laundry detergent, that is. So I use soap where needed to spot treat soiled areas or stains on the clothing or tea towels or things like that. But if you're going to be using the laundry detergent that I make and you're going to be adding it to your washing machine, that is, as opposed to hand washing, then I do recommend that maybe you grate up a little bit, or you can buy pre-grated Zote or Fels Naphtha and add that in. But I would do, for the batch that I show making in my video, which is basically, I think, a double batch. So, you're talking couple, I'd say 1.5 gallons of laundry detergent, dry laundry detergent. You're going to just add 1 bar of soap. You don't want to add too much soap. Otherwise, you're going to have way too much sudsing. And you're also going to have that residue from the soap left over in your clothing and garments. The other thing is like, if you are going to add soap to your laundry detergent, make sure it's not Castile soap, which is made from olive oil. Because if you add vinegar into your rinse water, which I highly recommend, because it'll soften up your clothes, it'll help to remove any excess residue. But Castile soap and vinegar have a bonding reaction to each other, and it'll set the soap into your fibers of your clothing, and you'll never get it out. Doesn't matter what you do, it's going to be there, and it's a bad thing. So avoid Castile and vinegar is the point of that. And Tammy says, or is that to take out the bitter in sweet tea? I've never had baking soda in sweet tea. So that's also another good thing to know. And Fuzzy says, Stevie will be sure to send Susie a sympathy card. Oh my goodness. 1968 Sourdough says, Alone, you need to grab some pie at Eureka, then take a ride in ATV back into the backcountry. You will enjoy it. I would love to do that. I noticed that the lake up that sits right behind the Eureka Lodge and cafe is actually still iced over. Here it is, June 5th, and it's still got a layer of ice on it. It doesn't look like it's thawing anytime soon. But the Eureka Cafe is a good place to stop to get a bite to eat too if you're traveling to and from Glen Ellen and Palmer. And JR says food, firearms, and good friends channel. Thank you, JR. I agree. And peas. Clint is saying no, thank you. Auntie Adasi says, well, here's my dinner menu then. Goulash casserole and homemade super crusty bread. Gotta love winter food. Yes, I love comfort foods, which is what I think of when I think of winter foods. And a good bread is always a good thing. Goulash. I've had some goulashes that have been really delicious, and I've had some goulashes that you're just like, I'm going to pass. But I would love to get a good recipe for a good traditional goulash. And Steve's Woodworking says, anybody else hungry now? I agree. And Tammy is saying, yummy. Panhandle Off-Road Ranch, how are you doing tonight? Panhandle says, hello from Laramie, Wyoming. I think I got here a little bit late tonight. No worries. I'll be on for a little bit longer, but I'm glad that you're here with us tonight. And Brooke Trout says, 2x4s came down a lot, $350 in Venice, Florida. Well, I'm glad the lumber prices are going down because a couple weeks ago, I couldn't even afford to buy some of the things that I just bought in Lowe's because the prices were so high. And Steve's Woodworking says, yes, Tammy, and baking soda takes the gas out of bean soup also. Nice to know. Very nice to know. Bay says 2-inch by 4-inch by 8-foot premium standard and better Douglas fir lumber is $3.95 here at Home Depot. So same cost as, well, 3 cents cheaper than what it was listed for in Wasilla at Home Depot here in Alaska. And Ashley says, Steve, nope, just ate 2 grilled hot dogs. And Tammy says, Steve, thank you. I kind of thought so. And Donna is saying hello to Tammy Sue, and Tammy Sue is saying hello back. And JR is saying the laundry detergent is in vid 19. Thank you for that, JR. Greatly appreciate that. And Eden says, thanks so much for answering. Continuing with that, do you happen to know anything of wildlife veterinarians in Alaska? I'm very interested in pursuing it, but can't find too much info online. For wildlife veterinarians, I don't know of any of them. But there has to be because we do have wildlife conservatories here. So there's, wildlife conservatory down. I'm not sure where it's located, actually. I'm not sure, but I know that there have to be wildlife veterinarians here. So I wish I could provide you some more information, but unfortunately, I don't have that. If I come across it, though, I'll be sure to mention it on next week's live for you, Eden. And I'll figure out where that wildlife conservatory is, too. So maybe you could check them out. And maybe they'll have some information that they can help you with and getting you in the right direction. And Two Bears says, Grammar Brown's baked beans have baking soda in them, and I was told to enhance the flavor and yes, cut down on the gas. Interesting. That's very, very interesting. And Bay says JR is a pretty smart person. You think? Oh my goodness. And Chesson says, do you do Amazon links for the Mangle to get a kickback? Yes. So I do have a affiliate program signed up with Amazon, and I make only like a couple pennies from anything that anybody buys. And it doesn't cost you anything more if you buy through that link. It just helps me get a little bit of money back on the channel. And I just started that, I would say, maybe a month ago, I became an Amazon affiliate. And I think so far I've made $4 as I hold up 5 fingers. So yeah, you don't make a whole lot of money from the things that people buy. I mean, you might if I was listing, things that were more expensive, but really it's just because people were asking, where did you get that? Where did you get that? And this to help people point them in the right direction. So I do make just a small bit though. And Fuzzy says, Fuzzy is single. I eat Stouffer's, lasagna, tuna, and noodles, and Swedish meatballs. Ooh, Swedish meatballs. Those are good. I do love Swedish meatballs. And Dee says, Dr. Oakley is a vet in Haynes Junction. There you go. Vet in Haynes Junction. Haynes Junction is a ways away from me, I think. I know where Haynes is, and I think Haynes Junction is on the border. Still a ways away from me for sure. And Steve's Woodworking is saying to Eden, don't mean to hurt the feelings, but they just eat them in Alaska. Not all of them. We don't eat everything, but we do eat a lot, that's for sure. Matt says, Fast Eddie's in Tok is a favorite. Oh, good to know. Fast Eddie's. I'll have to look them up if ever I make my way to Tok. And hello, Deep Bay Homestead, Off Grid with Rob and Sharon. How are you doing? Stay late to the party, but hello to all. Well, thank you for being here tonight. Appreciate it. And Steve is saying hello as well. And Fuzzy says, a woman who can talk for 3 hours straight is a born politician. Not this girl. I have zero political insights, knowledge, or fortitude. I really couldn't do it. I'm not a political person. And Eden says, haha, I'm aware, thinking more of the protect endangered species. Yes, I love Dr. Oakley. There you go. Dr. Oakley must be a TV personality because I'm not familiar with him, but obviously others are. So, and Tammy says, Eureka, is that a place? Yes, Eureka it's just a set of buildings is really all it is. It is a community. I mean, there are homes there, people who live in Eureka, but for the individual passing through, you're going to see on the north side, you're going to see a restaurant and a little gas station. I think there's a couple other, like maybe a garage or something that's there. But most people that go to Eureka are going there for snow machining in the wintertime and ATV riding in the summertime and the amazing views, as well as some berry picking and the chance to see moose and caribou. But it is a beautiful place along the Glen Highway, which is the main highway that runs east to west through the lower half of Alaska. And Tammy says, it sounds like a movie set. I love it. It very much looks like a movie set for sure. If you haven't checked out my last video, where I went on a scenic drive along the Glen Highway from the eastern side of Alaska to the Anchorage area, be sure to check it out. And you'll see a lot of beautiful scenery in that video for sure. And Deep Bay is saying hello to Steve at Steve's Woodworking. And Two Bear says, you need my grandmother's goulash. She was a cook in the old lumber camps. She's why I'm huge. Oh my goodness. That's funny. And Clint is laughing at Fuzzy's comment as well. And Fuzzy says, no, she's not brain dead. Yeah, thank goodness. I feel it though sometimes. Oh my goodness. And Fuzzy says to Clint, yes, alone is a born politician. Hardly. And Tammy says, I love the names of places in Alaska. Yeah, there's some really cool names. Some of them I cannot pronounce, though. That's for sure. Raised in Alaska says, free wildlife veterinarian. I would check with Fish and Game for the wild or for the Alaska Zoo. They would be able to point you in the right direction. That's a great idea. Thank you for that, Raised. And Sourdough says, wildlife vet, maybe Seward Sea Life Center could be a good rescue or good resource. Thank you also for that, Sourdough. And hello, Delia. How are you doing tonight? Glad to see you back again. And Delia says, good evening, alone. Good evening to you too, Delia. And Dixieland Homeland is also saying hello to you. And Raphael says, it is too cool in September to hike in Alaska. No, it depends upon, your temperance for temperature differences. But it could be kind of cool. It could be in the 30s overnight, and it could be in the 40s or 50s still in September. The first year that I moved here in September, it was 50 degrees out here on my property, but it felt like 80 degrees. It was super, super warm. So just again, depends upon where you're at and what the weather has in store for that time of the year. But by September, things are starting to cool off rather fast. And by the end of September, you're likely to hit snow in some places. And Tammy says, watch the pop-up chat and snatch a screen cap and you can see your name and thoughts with beautiful Annie. Oh, thank you, Tammy Sue. I appreciate that. And Tammy says, don't stop chatting though. Thank you for that too. And let's see here. Chassan says, I heard that you just have to click on the Amazon affiliate link and not buy anything and you still get a kickback. Oh, I don't know about that. That would be interesting if that was the case. I don't see how they could make any money though, but maybe. And Donna says, I love fried cabbage, fried with bacon and onion and seasoning salt. Yes, I can't have the onion, but with bacon or bacon fat, oh, it's so good. And Tammy even agrees. She says, yummy. Hello, Jackie Dorner. How are you doing tonight? Jackie says, and what about Chicken Alaska? Yes, I would love to make my way out to Chicken Alaska. Chicken Alaska sounds like a very interesting little community. And who knows, one day I might make my way there. And Fuzzy says, if you forget, hit the like button, do it now. And Delia saying hello to Dixieland. And it looks like I'm actually all caught up on comments for first. That's a first for me, for sure. But I, at this moment, am actually going to go ahead and end the live stream tonight because I need to get back outside and work in the garden. I know I've got plenty of sunlight still my way, but it is 7 o'clock and I'd like to get some part of this done so I can move on to the next step. I'll be sure to bring you guys along for that in this week's video, but I wanted to say thank you to everybody who joined the chat tonight. Even if you're just sitting at home listening and you didn't join the chat, thank you for being here. And if you caught the chat late, be sure to check out the replay, and you can watch the whole thing. If you watch it in 2x speed, you'll find out that it's a lot of fun to watch it that way. But I want to thank everyone for being here as usual. So thank you, Donna and Ashley and Jackie. And of course, I have to say thank you to Steve and also to JR and Rob for moderating the live stream tonight. I really appreciate you guys. And thank you, Two Bears, also for being here. I really appreciate that. Deep Bay Homestead, thank you again, and Onto It Aussie as well. And Renice, I hope you have a good night also. Thank you for everyone. And Was Never a Nurse, Ratchet, thank you for being here, even if I just am signing off for the night. I appreciate you being here. Same to you, Annette and C. Shelby. Have a good night. Matt, thank you, and I hope your move goes well. I know you'll be on a plane, but be safe, and hope to hear from you after you arrive. So thank you, everyone. You're welcome, Angie. Good night, Clint. Thank you. I greatly appreciate you. Good night, everyone. Take it easy and have a good night. Thank you.